Okay, so is the PPT visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Kevin, do you remember where we stopped in the last class?
Uh,
At least one word, otherwise I'll really feel bad.
Last class, ma'am.
Ah, yes, yeah, last class, Kevin.
Mm,
At least Kevin opened his mouth. Can somebody else tell me where did we stop in the last class?
And we get box plot.
Ah, yes, very good. Thank you. Okay, so in fact, we were last two classes, we were looking into the statistical descriptions of data, where we discussed the measures of tendency as well as the measures of dispersion we discussed. So, under measures of dispersion, we discussed all those range, quartiles, then uh, yeah, box plot, box plot, which will provide you with a 5 number summary, then variance and standard deviation. We also looked into the significance of all those things. Why do we go for it? Okay, so today we'll have a quick look at the graphical displays for the basic statistical description. You don't have this in detail. So just an overview of the various graphical display, and then we move on to the last chapter in the first unit. So tomorrow we will finish our first unit. So today, in fact, it's our eighth class, eighth session. So tomorrow with the ninth session, we'll wind up the first unit. Okay. So today we will look at these graphical displays. Box plot was already covered in the class previously. We'll just have a quick look at the histogram, the quantile plot, QQ plot, and the scatter plot. Okay, fine. So this is what we are going to see in today's class. Okay, so histogram. All of you are very much familiar with this representation. Okay, so like this is basically for your histogram. It will provide you with a summary of the distribution of a particular given attribute. Let's say X. Okay, so for example, if X is nominal, so for example, it could be the automobile model or item type. Okay, so the vertical bar will be known for each known value of X. Okay, so uh, yeah, so a similar representation for histogram is what is called a bar chart. Okay, well, bar chart is also there. Okay, but then in bar chart there could be gaps between the different bars. But then in the case of histogram, there is no, um, space or no gaps, no gaps between the various bar. Okay, so this is basically for summarizing your, when you have a discrete data or a continuous data, you can summarize it with the help of your histogram. Okay, so you can have a title for histogram which will describe the information whatever is included in the histogram. Then of course you have your x-axis. X-axis is available. So x-axis will show the intervals, the scale of the values which the measurements will be falling under. Then of course you have your y-axis. Y-axis will show the number of times, that is the frequency that the values occurred within the interval whatever is being set by your x-axis. Okay, then of course you have your bars. So the bar, the height of the bar, okay, this height of the bar, that will show you the number of times the value occurred within that particular interval. Okay, so whereas when you say the width of the bar, so the width of the bar, so that will show the particular interval that is being covered. Okay, so like in case it's a histogram with equal bins or equal intervals, so the width should be the same across all the bar. Okay, so this by creating the histogram, you can have a good visual representation of your data distribution. Okay, especially when you have large amount of data, and the frequency of the data values has to be taken into consideration, then you can go for a histogram. Okay, again, the median and the distribution of all the data, it can be determined from the histogram. Okay, again, if you have any outliers or gaps in the data, that can also be depicted by means of your histogram. Okay, so this is, we don't have this much in detail in as far as the syllabus is concerned. Okay, this is just an extension of the statistical descriptions, whatever we have discussed for the data. So next we are moving on to what is called your quantile plot. Quantile plot, or it's called quantile plot, QQ plot. Okay, so this actually, yeah, does this show you? So this is actually a technique for determining whether two data sets are coming from the population with a common distribution. Okay, so this will plot. I mean, it's basically a plot of the quantiles. What do you mean by quantile? What is quantile? Last class we had seen what is a quantile. What is a quantile? So I said it's a plot of quantiles. What is a quantile? In simple words, we discussed so many quantiles. Different types of quantiles and quartiles was discussed. So in simple words, what do you mean by a quantile?
No, percentage segment of the data.
Yeah, that percentage, or you can say the fraction of data that falls below a given value. So that is what is meant by quantile. Okay, fraction of points, or you can call it as percent of points that fall below a given value. For example, if it is 0.3 or 30%, 30% quartile, that means 30% of the data falls below that particular point, and 70% will be above the value. Okay, so that's what it means by a quantile. Okay, so this QQ plot, it's basically a plot of quantiles. I said it's for two data set, of the first data set against the quantile of the second data set. Okay, so for this purpose, you also draw a 45-degree reference line. A 45-degree reference line is also plotted along with it. Okay, so if two sets are coming from a population with the same distribution, then the points will be approximately very near to this reference line. Okay, so it will be more or less from the same population, means it will be more or less near to this 45-degree line. Okay, so if there is very much departure from this reference line, if the points are too far away from the reference line, that means the data sets are coming from population with different distributions. Okay, so you can see a QQ plot, plotted out here. So on the vertical axis, you will be having the quantiles of one particular data set, and on the horizontal axis or on the x-axis, you can see the quantiles from the second data set. Okay, so this actually is taken from your textbook, the prescribed textbook. So like it's a QQ plot of for the unit price that is mentioned in dollars of the items that are being sold at two branches, branch 1 and branch 2, in all electronics. That is the name given in your textbook, during a particular period. Okay, so during a particular period, so each point will correspond to the same quantile for each data set, and it will show the unit price of the items which is being sold in branch 1 with respect to branch 2 for that particular quantile. Okay, so for this particular, to do this comparison, you draw this 45-degree line, straight line. Okay, so for each given quantile, the unit price at each branch will be the same. Okay, so you can see the darker points are there here, some darker points mentioned here. So darker points are actually it corresponds to Q1, yeah, Q1 quartile 1, Q2 second one is median, and the third one is Q3 quartile respectively. Okay, so you can see here from the values. So whatever items are sold in branch 1, for them the unit price is less when compared to your branch 2. Okay, so yeah, like especially at Q1, as at Q1, so the unit price of the items, whatever is being sold at branch 1, I just mentioned it's less than that of what is being sold at branch 2. So Q1 means 25%. 25% of the items sold at branch 1 is less than or equal to, it is somewhere near 60, right? 60, it's in dollars. Okay, 60. Okay, so and 25% of the items sold in branch 2, it's more or less near to 63 or 64, I suppose, 60 or equal to $64. Okay, same way for Q2. Q2 is 50 percentile, 50 percentile. So it is, I think Q2 is somewhere nearing 78. 78. This Q2 value 78. So 50% of the items sold at branch 1 is less than 78. 78. The unit of metric used is dollar, $78. While 50% of the items at branch 2. Branch 2 is less than, how much is it? I think around 86 or 85, $85. Okay, so that's what. So what we have to notice here is there is a shift in the distribution of branch 1 with respect to branch 2 as far as the unit price of the item is sold. Okay, and it is generally noticed that the item unit price of the item which is being sold in branch 1 is lesser than those sold in branch 2. Okay, so these sort of plots will help you to answer so many questions, like whether the two data sets, whatever we are considering, they are coming from a population with a common distribution. Okay, so whether they have a common location or some common scale, or whether they have a similar distribution or distribution shape. So we'll be able to answer all these sort of questions with the help of your quantiles, QQ plot. Okay, so next one is what is called a scatter plot. Okay, so scatter plot is basically to, each pair of values treated as a pair of coordinates. Okay, this is basically to determine whether there is a relationship or a pattern, relationship or a pattern between the attributes which is under consideration, generally the numeric attributes. Okay, so you can see here uh, whether a relationship exists between the pair of values. So each pair of value will be treated as a pair of coordinates. Okay, and it will be plotted as points. You can see here it will be plotted as points in the in the plane. Okay, so you can see here two headings being mentioned: positively and negatively correlated data. Okay, so positive and negative correlation. Okay, so I think these two are positively correlated. This is negatively correlated. This is the positive correlation. Okay, so a correlation means, what do you mean by correlation? If you have two attributes, let's say X and Y. Okay, so if one attribute implies the other, okay, so that means they are correlated. Okay, X implies Y. Okay, so the correlation, it can either be positive correlation or a negative correlation, or they are not correlated. You can say, to call it as null or uncorrelated. Okay, so this particular scatter plot. Okay, so that is if the pattern is sloping from the lower left to the upper right. So that, what does this mean? So this means that as X increases, Y is also increasing. As X increases, Y is also increasing. So this is the case of a positive correlation. Okay, or you can see this is a case of a negative correlation. So negative correlation means it's sloping down, you can say, from the upper left to the lower right. Okay, so the value of X increases. The value of X is increasing, whereas the value of Y is decreasing. Okay, X increases, Y decreases. So this can be a case of a negative correlation. Okay, so always a line of best fit can be drawn to study the correlation between the two variables, whatever we are considering. So, okay, so that is what is regarding your scatter plot. Okay, so this is a totally uncorrelated data. There's no correlation between the two attributes X and Y. Okay, so this basically for finding the relationship between two attributes. Okay, so this completes our second chapter. Okay, second chapter. There are further topics here, but then that is not mentioned in your syllabus. As far as the syllabus is concerned, only the data objects and attribute types and basic statistical descriptions of the data is being mentioned in your syllabus. Okay, so if you get time, maybe we can take this up as a case study or as a seminar or whatever, data visualization. So from examination point of view, so the portions are up to here as far as the second chapter is concerned. Okay, so till the scatter plot. Okay, so this is, we have basically 3 chapters in the first unit. First chapter is over 4-5 days back, and this is the second chapter where we spoke about, where we try to understand the data which we are going to do the analysis, understanding the data. That was objective of the second chapter. Okay, so next we move on to the third chapter, which speaks about data pre-processing. Do you remember hearing this word anywhere? Data pre-processing. So we need to discuss all these things. Do you remember, or have you heard of this word data pre-processing anywhere? Harini heard about this word? Harini is not in class. Okay. Then who's this? Raja Singh. Raja Singh, have you heard about this word data pre-processing?
Yes, ma'am.
Where? Is it from my mouth right now, or before have you heard about this? Where have you heard about it and what is it? You're deafening my ears.
Right now,
Oh, okay, you please mute. Otherwise, I'll go deaf. Okay. Can somebody else tell me where have we discussed about this data pre-processing?
Ma'am, in the
knowledge
knowledge
discovery
discovery.
process.
Yes, Nityashri, please tell me. Yeah. Nityashri,
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah, do you remember where it was?
In the knowledge discovery process.
Yes, exactly. In the knowledge discovery process, very good. In the knowledge discovery process, I think in the first, I don't have the first slide PPT out here. Okay, so we discussed about the knowledge discovery in databases. Okay, knowledge discovery in databases, where we discussed about various steps, data cleaning, then we discussed about data integration, then we discussed about data selection by means of what is called a data reduction. Okay, then data, what was it? Data transformation. Yeah, it's mentioned here, data transformation and data discretization. Okay, data discretization. Then of course we have the data mining as a part of it, as one of the steps involved in your data knowledge discovery in databases, data mining, and then knowledge presentation to the users. Okay, before that we calculate, or we try to measure the interestingness, using the measures of interestingness, we try to evaluate the interestingness of a pattern, and then finally we present the knowledge to the mind knowledge to the user, using some visualization techniques and making use of the various statistical descriptions what we have just mentioned. Okay, so there are various tools which aid in this process. Okay, so this is what is called your knowledge discovery in databases. An important question from the examination point of view, knowledge discovery in databases. Okay, so in this, okay, so few steps were called as data pre-processing. Okay, so the first 4 steps, okay, this step, data cleaning, data integration, data reduction, and data transformation. Okay, so this is what is called data pre-processing. Okay, then we have what is called the mining, and then data post-processing and presenting the knowledge to the user. Okay, so these 4 steps, the first 4 steps are what we are going to discuss right now. Okay, so that is data cleaning, data integration, data reduction, that is data selection by means of data reduction, and then we will be discussing about data transformation and data discretization. Okay, so these are the 4 steps or the major tasks involved in data pre-processing. Okay, so that is very, very important to understanding these steps. Okay, fine. So first thing is, before we start, we jump on to what basically is data cleaning, what are the various tasks we do in data cleaning, and then how do we go about it, how do we remove the noise and other things. We should first look into why do we go for data pre-processing, or why pre-process the data. Okay, so you can see here the dimensions of data quality is being mentioned here. Accuracy, completeness, consistency, timeliness. Okay, timeliness, I think. Okay, timeliness, then believability, interpretability. Okay, so please make a note of all these things. These are the dimensions of data quality. Okay, so the data is said to have some quality, or is of certain quality if they satisfy the requirements of the intended use. Okay, so if it is accurate, if it is complete, if it is consistent, if it's timely, if it is delivered on time, if it is believable and you're able to interpret it, then you can say the data is of certain quality. Okay, so to understand the significance, I'll quote an example. Okay, so in fact, all the examples in our data mining, I have taken it from your textbook itself. So it is all revolving around your all electronics or ABC electronics. Electronics companies, sales data and marketing data is being taken to explain the examples. Okay, so let's take the same electronics company, or let's say you are the manager of that particular company, and you have been asked to analyze the company's data with respect to your branch sales, the sales of your branch. Okay, so what will you start doing? You are given the task to analyze the company's data with respect to your branch sales performance. Okay, so first step, what will you do? So first step is you will start looking into the company's databases and into your data warehouses, the company's data warehouses. You will start inspecting them. Okay, then after that, what will you do? You will try to identify, or you will try to select those attributes or dimensions, whatever is necessary for your analysis. What are the attributes or dimensions, whatever is suitable for your analysis? Maybe it could be the item details, or it could be the price details, then how many units sold. So these may be the primary attributes which could satisfy your requirements, or which may be suitable for you to do your data analysis. Okay, so when you start analyzing these attributes, I hope when I say attributes, you should be able to visualize something. What comes to your mind when I say attributes? Attributes are item, price, and units sold. What comes to your mind? Anirudh, what comes to? Yes, that should come to your mind. It is columns. You should be able to visualize it something like this. Okay, so these are all the attributes. Because if you are finished studying DBMS, automatically when I say called attributes, this will come to your mind. But since you are learning DBMS only in the next semester, I keep telling about this. This is nothing but the attributes, fields or columns. Okay, so this is the row or record or tuple in DBMS terminology. So this is something which should come into your mind. Two-dimensional table or a relation of rows and columns. Okay, so as a manager, you start looking into these attributes, or you try to identify the attributes, like what is necessary for you. Okay, so and you have finalized certain attributes, the item description, the price, the units sold. Okay, so when you start analyzing these particular attributes, you notice that many of the tuples or many of the records are not having any value. The values are missing. Okay, again, the people, the database users, they too have reported that there are many n number of errors in the data. So there are many unusual values, values which shouldn't be there, or there are some inconsistencies in the data for certain transactions, some erroneous transactions. Maybe the amount transacted could be minus 10,000. So minus 10,000 is something which cannot be transacted. So an erroneous transaction. So they have reported n number of issues and queries. Okay, so what I want to tell you is the data that you want to analyze using the various data mining techniques are in fact incomplete. Okay, so incomplete in the sense certain attributes are not having any values, they are having missing values. Okay, so some values are missing. See, these are all missing values, or certain attributes values are recorded to be inconsistency. Here salary is recorded to be minus 10,000. So suppose this was units sold. If it is units sold and minus 10,000, such a value cannot be there, or a transactional data cannot have a value as minus 10,000. Okay, so or certain attributes are having only aggregate data, they don't have a drill down information or a more precise information, or they are deviating from the expected standards. Okay, so many discrepancies. And again, different departments may be having different codes. short forms or codes. So those codes are not properly being used. So it is very difficult to find out what are the units sold, what are the items which are being sold, and how many number of units are being sold. Okay, so everywhere you are finding issues with the data. Okay, and when you say there are issues, there are several reasons for all these inaccurate data. There are several reasons to have all these incorrect attribute values. So one reason can be like the data entry operator. Data entry operator was very careless while entering the item name, price, and units sold and other things. So he has not correctly recorded those data. It could be a computer error or a human error, or the data collection, the data was automatically collected by some instrument. So that instrument has become faulty, due to which the data was not correctly calculated. Then again, in some cases, in case some user's personal information is being asked, username and some other information is being asked, some personal information is being asked. Okay, so this also was taken for data analysis. For example, certain users may not like to give their personal information, especially your birthday date. Okay, so like they don't want to submit their personal information. So when birthday is being asked as one of the attribute, rather than filling it with their original birth date, they just keep it as a default date, whatever is being shown there, Jan 1st. Generally, Jan 1st will be shown as the default date. So that Jan 1st will be shown. So this is actually a case of missing data, disguised missing data. Okay, so data or data format inconsistency. Okay, because I said data is coming from heterogeneous data sources. Date format. Some countries they may use MMDDYY. Another country may use DDMMYY. So when both these data come into your data warehouse, okay, so I mean, it has to be put into a single format. Otherwise, data analysis and other things may go wrong. Okay, so there are n number of possibilities. Okay, why the accuracy, completeness, and consistency of the data can be tampered with. Okay, then timely data being made available at correct point of time, rather than much delay. Okay, so that is very, very important these days. Okay, getting some accurate information after the required point of time is of no use these days. Okay, then there are two other aspects mentioned here: believability and interpretability of the data. What about the believability and interpretability of the data? For example, let's say that sales database, at one particular point of time, it had a lot of errors. And then finally, the issues were sorted out, data cleaning was done, and then all the errors was corrected. But then those errors, which was there in the past, that had caused n number of problems to the sales department users. So they are no longer trusting that particular data. Okay, so again, the data may be having so many accounting codes, department codes. Okay, and again, the sales department might not be knowing how to interpret those codes. Okay, so no proper documentation is being given for that particular data. Okay, so even though currently the database is accurate and complete and consistent and it is timely, the sales department users generally they are fed up with that particular data, the errors that they had with that issues they had with the data in the past. So they are not ready to believe that data. They are not ready to believe the data. They regard it as poor quality data. Okay, and poor quality data, and the data has very low interpretability. That is, they are not able to easily interpret the data. Okay, so that is the reason why the measures of data quality, the multidimensional view, plays a important role. Okay, so I gave you this example for you to understand the significance of data pre-processing. Okay, so because of all these reasons, data pre-processing is very, very important. Okay, so these are the major tasks involved in data cleaning. Okay, major tasks involved in data cleaning. So first one is data pre-processing. First one is data cleaning. So cleaning means removing the noise, inconsistent data, the missing values, the irrelevant values, irrelevant data, outliers, duplicates, because we call the real world data as dirty data coming from heterogeneous data sources. Okay, so there could be noise there. Some variance error could be there. So we need to apply different data mining techniques to get rid of those anomalies. Okay, so we need to there are various techniques how to deal with those things. Okay, so data cleaning is all about eliminating the irrelevancy from the database records. Okay, so next is data integration. Okay, data integration. Data integration, I just told you, multiple data sources may be combined. Okay, so data sources may be coming from different places, and heterogeneous data sources, different data sources. Once, in fact, I had shown a diagram for it also, data, how the data is coming to your data warehouse from heterogeneous data sources, from OLTP systems, online transaction processing systems. So the data gets, that's how the data gets loaded into your data warehouse, and periodically it gets refreshed. Periodically your data warehouse gets refreshed. Okay, and data warehouse stores historical data. Historical data. Okay, so data can come from your internet, that is World Wide Web. It can come from organizational data, that is OLTP data or organizational data from different places. So data integration is generally being done by what the process called ETL, extraction, transformation, and loading process. We'll be discussing about it. Okay, so you have n number of migration tools, synchronization tools, everything for performing this data integration. Okay, then we have what is called a data reduction. Okay, data reduction, I think when we discuss KDD, we called it as data selection. Data selection is being done by reducing the data. Okay, so because we don't need all the data, whatever we have collected. Okay, so we need to select only those data which we think is useful for doing the data analysis or data mining. Okay, so you have a number of techniques. Dimensionality reduction techniques are there, data compression techniques are there, numerosity reduction techniques are there. We look into all these things. Okay, or you can select the data by using your neural networks, or by using your what is the decision trees or naive Bayesian classifiers, or by means of your clustering or regression. Okay, so you can select the data relevant to the task for analyzing using one of these techniques. Then, of course, you transform the data. Again, dimensionality reduction techniques can also be applied here. Then feature selection can be done. Okay, so data can be transformed and consolidated into forms, whatever is appropriate for mining. You can perform some summary operations or some aggregation operations, and you can perform transformation. Then normalization can be done so that the data falls within a particular range. Okay, so there are different types of normalization techniques also. Okay, so min-max normalization technique is there, Z-score normalization techniques is there. Then, of course, you can have concept hierarchy generation, feature selection, extracting the records for sampling. So then a number of techniques are also there involved in this. Okay, so these are the data transformation techniques. Okay, so in short, these four techniques are called what is called your data pre-processing. Data pre-processing in the sense your data clean the data. You can see here various forms of data pre-processing, data cleaning, data integration. See, data is coming from heterogeneous data sources. One particular database from a different data source, from a legacy or a flat file, everything is flowing into your data warehouse. Then this is data reduction. So this particular form gets reduced to this. Then data transformation by applying some sort of normalization or some other technique. So these are the various forms of data pre-processing. Okay, so yeah, so first let's start with the first step. That is nothing but your data cleaning. Are you all listening? Are you all listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody are listening. Can you all please put it in the chat window? Let's just to see how many people are listening to what I'm saying. Or people have just connected and gone for breakfast and doing their daily Monday course. Sharon, Anirudh, Pranav, Nishok. Okay, oh, good. Akshata. But still, considering the fact that a class has a strength of 54, Santosh. Okay, good. Okay, people are listening. I'm happy. Okay. Hope all of you had a good breakfast. You had your breakfast? Yes, ma'am. Okay. So if you don't have your breakfast, you won't feel like listening. You should have a good breakfast in the morning and then sit for the class. Not yet, ma'am. So you'll feel sleepy, Kevin. should eat breakfast and then sit for the class. Okay, then let's come back to a class. Where are we? Okay. Okay, so yeah, we'll start with the first step involved in data pre-processing, nothing but data cleaning. Okay, so data cleaning, when I say, it is all about how to deal with the missing data, or you can call it as how to deal with the incomplete data, and also how to deal with the noisy data. Okay, these are the two things, two highlights as far as data cleaning is involved. How to handle the missing data, or what is missing data, how to handle it, then how to handle the noisy data, then the data cleaning process. Okay, so you can see here some examples are given here in the slide. So the data in the real world is dirty. Lots of potential or incorrect data. I had already mentioned it could be a fault in the data collection instrument, or it could be a human or a computer error. Okay, or it could be a transmission error. Okay, or incomplete data, lacking attribute values, lacking certain attributes of interest, or containing only aggregate data. So, for example, if occupation is one of the attribute, the value is not recorded, the value is missing, or it's having some noisy data. For example, if or outliers or errors, for example, if it is an attribute like salary, -10, salary will not be -10, so definitely that's an error. Okay, or some discrepancies in the codes or the name. Okay, so initially, I mean, this is actually, again, when I say attribute, there are different types of attributes also. Okay, so like simple attributes are there, then multi-valued attributes, complex attributes, derived attributes. Okay, all these things actually comes as a part of your DBMS, database management system. Okay, so why I told you that is because it is showing an example, age and birthday. Okay, so age is actually a derived attribute which can be derived from the birth date, from the birthday. Okay, so if that is not correctly calculated, so it could result in an inconsistency. Okay, multi-valued attribute means, for example, your mobile number. Anirudh can have 3 mobile numbers, so it is a multi-valued attribute. Okay, so it can be a simple attribute. Any attribute which is normally being considered, like your registration number, which can have a single value. Registration number is a simple attribute. Okay, so whereas here the age is a derived attribute. Okay, so the inconsistency can be there. Or initially in the database, the rating was given as 1, 2, 3. Now the rating is A, B, C. Okay, inconsistency. Or discrepancy between duplicate records. Duplicate. When it comes to DBMS, you will be using the terminology called redundancy. Redundant data. Okay, duplicate data. Okay, so all these, due to all these things, we need to go for what is called a data cleaning. Okay, or intentionally not given, or incorrect data being given, disguised missing data. So Jan 1st is everybody's birthday. That's what, when a personal information is being asked, okay, the person doesn't want to share his birthday date, so he will not change the default date what is being set there. So Jan 1st. So similar manner. Okay, so when you say an incomplete data, I said, when you say data cleaning, there are two things to be taken into consideration. First is missing data, and second is noisy data. Okay, so the first one is missing data. See, this is the first one, missing data. Then we'll look into what is called the noisy data. Okay, so missing data or incomplete data. So when we say missing data, there are actually many cases. Okay, so data is not available. Data is not available. So that means the tuples have no recorded values, like customer income in sales data. So for example, here, see the occupation of Tom is not recorded here, or Brown's credit risk is not mentioned here. Okay, so these are all missing values. Okay, so see, Jill, who is a retired person, is being shown as getting a salary of 50,000. So he may be, he's a retired person. So definitely he cannot have a salary at this particular point of time other than some pensions and other things. So this could be an erroneous data. And Brown's salary is being put as negative 10,000. All these are erroneous data. So here missing data. So what should be done with all these things? Okay. Yeah, the missing data could be due to equipment malfunction, inconsistent with other recorded data, so it is being deleted. Data not entered due to misunderstanding. Okay, so then at the time of data entry, that particular data was not considered to be that important, so it was not recorded for that purpose. Okay, so in some cases, missing data need to be inferred. Okay, so you make some inference based on the existing data. So you make an inference and you fill the missing data. Okay, so there are many cases. There are many cases when it comes to missing data or incomplete data. Okay, so now coming to how to handle this missing data. How can we handle this missing data? Okay, so first one is you can ignore that particular tuple. Okay, you can ignore that particular tuple, but then if the number of missing values are less, then it is okay. But then if it is not effective when the percentage of missing values per attributes are more. Okay, if you have more number of missing values and if you start ignoring or deleting those tuples for data analysis, of course our output or accuracy of the accuracy will not be okay. Okay, so it will have a poorer accuracy. So ignoring the tuple is dangerous. Again, it depends on like how many missing values are there in that particular database. Okay, so when you're doing a classification, when the class label is missing, you can ignore that particular tuple. But then if there are if the percentage of missing value is more, then it is dangerous. Okay, then the second case, how you can deal with the missing values, fill in with the missing values manually. Manually fill the missing values. Okay, manually, it is actually tedious and infeasible, especially when you deal with a database with thousands of records. Filling the missing values manually may not be a good solution. Okay, then third one is, hope people are making a note of all these things. Okay, so fill it automatically, either with a global constant. A global constant in the sense it can be an unknown or with some infinity. Okay, so but then when you fill it with a value called unknown, again, when so many missing values are there and you fill everything with a global constant called unknown, data mining program may mistake it as some form of an interesting concept, because everything is having a common value, unknown. Okay, so though it is a simple method to replace it with unknown value, it is not a foolproof thing. Okay, replacing with a global constant or by attribute mean, the average value. For example, if the average income is let's say $45,000, okay, so you can use that value to replace the missing values, whatever income values are missing. Okay, you can replace it with the average income, that is 45,000. Okay, so that is another method. Then the next method is you can use the attribute mean or median for all the samples belonging to the same class. Okay, for example, if the customers are having if you are trying to classify the customers according to their credit risk, and categorizing them as safe and risky. Okay, so the mean values for the customers in the same credit category. Okay, if, in all the safe category, if some values are missing in the safe category, so then the average of the people belonging to this category, their average can be taken and the missing value can be filled. Same way for risky. If there are many risky customers and one particular risky value is missing, risky credit risk is missing. So the average income of those people belonging to the risky category can be taken, and then that can be filled in with the instead of the missing value. Okay, so that's another method. Okay, then the next one is using the most probable value. Probable value, that is by making, with some regression or by using some inference tools like a Bayesian formalization, or by making use of a decision tree things. Okay, so you can take care of, you can use the most probable value. Okay, so the point to be taken care is, for example, there may be cases other than this. For example, you're trying to apply for a credit card, and the candidate is being asked to provide your driving license. Unfortunately, the candidate doesn't have a driving license. Okay, so naturally the candidate will leave that field as blank. Okay, so when you're preparing a form or when you're doing the data analysis, make sure that you have a provision for not applicable, NA, which means he has to apply for a credit card, but then unfortunately he doesn't have a driving license, so not applicable. Okay, so or don't know or none or whatever, so such things should be taken into consideration. Okay, so you can have all these can be specified as a part of data collection. Okay, so it's 9:47. Okay, so then missing values. See, I'll just, because we don't have a lab for this, so this is actually there are many tools for data mining. So this is an exercise by making use of Orange tool, data mining's Orange tool. It's a free open source downloadable software. Those who are interested can look into this and try doing this. So see here, they have taken this particular data set, weather missing data set. So this is the data set which is being taken. So you can see here there are many missing values. So here value is missing. Here, see, the question mark is missing value. Okay, my pen is not writing. Okay, the question mark is the missing value. See, all these question marks are missing values. So this is a weather data set being taken. So how that missing value is being taken care here. So here the missing values are being replaced with the mean or the most frequent method. So with the mean value they have replaced. See, the values being shown in the red color rectangle. Red color rectangle, it is all the missing values being replaced with the most probable or the most frequent method. Okay, so you can, those who are interested can have a look at this. This is a very good tool, Orange data mining. There are other tools to Veka and other things. So you can have a look at this particular map also. Maybe I'll put the link in your chat window. Those who are interested can have a look at it. We don't have a lab to do all these things, right? So you can look at this. Okay, so let me take the attendance. So with that, I'm stopping for today. Have any doubts? You can ask me right now. Sundar, it will be stored in your drive. Registration number 50.